Hey folks, David Olkowetsky with Artisan Reviewer here. Hope you're having a great day. The reason I'm making this video is I'm about to ship a large number of knives out the door. This is only a small portion of them to customers. And I remembered that I've had a couple of folks reach out to me and say, hey, how do I actually sharpen these knives? It's a great question. So this is my favorite tool for doing it at home. It's really convenient. It's the Ken Onion from WorkSharp. I really like the Elite sharpening solution. They actually have an upgraded version of this. This tool is about 2 years old. The new one looks to be amazing, but I really like this one. I might buy the new one as well. So why don't we just dive right into it? Let me just first explain to you kind of some very basic principles. So super important, if your knife is very dull, this one is not. I actually just finished sharpening it, but I can break it here. Let's find some ceramic. Here we go. So we're just gonna, this is called breaking a knife, okay? I just used the whetstone to completely dull this knife. This knife might still cut paper because it's thin behind the edge. Yeah, it's rough. It'll cut, but it's been bricked. So we want to get to a place where it's flying through this magazine paper. So what we're going to wind up doing is we're going to sharpen one side, and then we're going to sharpen the next side. Okay, and it's really important that you're not just going back and forth, because you want to actually develop some meaningful burr. Burr is this like little wire edge that hangs off of the blade. Now, in order to develop that burr, you're going to want to ideally start with a lower grit than what I'm using here. But this knife, again, as you saw, it's sharp. It's just, you know, I just bricked it really quickly. I didn't use like an actual brick to completely destroy the edge. So I'm going to start on my 1000 grit belt. If you have a very dull knife, a knife that's, you know, like won't even pierce the skin of a tomato, I would start with a lower grit belt. So I like this X65 coarse belt from WorkSharp. I think it's really good. There's also another company called, I think, Red Dog abrasives. I like these belts too. They're a little bit less forgiving for a variety of reasons that I don't need to get too much into the weeds on, but basically this is a thicker belt. It's got more backing, so this is a little bit more wobbly, basically. And a variety of other little nuanced details that don't really matter for purposes of this video. So I'm gonna work with my 1000 grit belt. I center the belt. I set my angle to the angle that I want. So here I am set at 17 degrees. I like 17 for our knives. You can do 15, you can do 20, you can do 25. I mean, this thing goes up to 35. These knives are thin behind the edge. So if you're the type of person who, you know, really wants a fast knife, you can go down to 12. It's not a problem. If you're a person who, you know, wants to be a little bit more conservative with your edge to make sure that you don't accidentally chip it, if you have a history of chipping knives, or if you use them for things like frozen vegetables and anything that can really ding up an edge, which, by the way, we never recommend splitting frozen vegetables with a thin light knife like this. But yeah, I would go to a higher grit. So typically I like 15 to 20 degrees. Usually we sharpen to 15. So you know what, why don't I actually just change that right now? We'll just change it to 15. Okay. All right. So the next step is going to be, I'm going to place the knife onto the belt here, and I'm going to not place it, you know, I'm not going to place it at the very edge. I'm going to place it right in the middle as I'm popping it down. So I'm going to pop it down in the middle and then slide it across. And as I'm coming towards the tip, I'm going to raise the knife a little bit. So instead of being totally flat this way, I'm not adjusting it this way. I'm not adjusting it this way. I'm adjusting it this way. And that's so that I can hit the tip properly. So it's going to look like this. And then I like to slide it right back and forth, right? So I like to go back and forth, back and forth. A lot of folks will just do back, back, back. I think it's inefficient. It takes longer, and I just don't like it. So the way I try to get to maximum efficiency is I'm moving back and forth, back and forth. I'm going to do this anywhere from 5 to 10 different strokes, especially if it's a dull knife. If it's a like this is still relatively sharp. If it's still relatively sharp, I might do 3 strokes per side, 2 strokes per side, 1 stroke per side, and then I'm done. I move on to my chrome oxide loaded leather strop. Or if I want to get a really nice deburred edge, I'll move up to a 2000 grit on this whetstone here. I do have diamond stones. I'm not really sure where they are. I just moved here. So let's show you what this actually looks like. That is wicked sharp. So I just, this is basically like an MDF, so basically it's like wood. So I like to move it through a little bit of wood. I pop it onto the chrome oxide loaded leather strop. Let me move it a little further away from the machine. Remember, you want to do edge trailing strokes. You don't want to go into the leather because you're going to cut the leather. You want to go away from the leather. And let's take some magazine paper. Yeah, it's just flying right through it. Okay, so that, my friends, is how you sharpen a knife. Also remember, you want to move up in grit, right? So you start at your lowest grit, you work your way to a higher and higher and higher grit, because the higher grit is finer and finer and finer. Think of it, if you ever smooth out your nails with a nail file. Some nail files have a coarse, a medium, and a fine. It's the same principle here, okay? That's it. You now know how to sharpen a knife.